Good morning.
Good morning.
I'd like to call the Putnam County Board of County Commissioners meeting to order for June 11th, 2019. We'll begin our meeting by asking Terry Wright, pastor of Grace Fellowship Church, to come forward to present the invocation, and then Commissioner Rawls will lead us in the pledge. Please stand.
Let's pray together. Well, Father, we love you and we thank you for another wonderful day. Thank you for your goodness and your kindness to us, your grace, allowing us to live here in Putnam County. Lord, I pray now for our commissioners, for the staff, for every county employee. I pray, Father, you give them an unbelievable day, a great week. And, Father, bless them as they lead us, as they deliberate over decisions. Lord, give them wisdom and understanding. Father, give them insight and foresight to lead our county to where you want it to be. Lord, I pray that every effort that's being made here today will be blessed by you, and that it will produce a better life for all the folks in our county. Thank you, Lord, for your goodness. We pray in Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Pastor Terry Wright. Thank you, Commissioner Rawls. Commissioners, on our agenda, item number 2, approval of minutes.
Mr. Chairman, I move approval.
I'll move second.
Okay, we have a proper motion by Commissioner Harvey, proper second by Commissioner Commissioner Goddard. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Next item of business will be the Port Authority. That's a 9:05 certain. So we'll take a couple of minute recess.
Do you want to go to the recognition of the? Or, it doesn't.
No, I don't want to go to the recognition just yet. So I will recognize our legal counsel, George Young, with Holmes & Young, and we welcome him. Hope you keep us straight this morning.
I'll do my best.
Tall order.
I think we can just sit here and wait for a minute, and then we'll move on.
I'll steal one of these from you. Real time, actually. As long as you got coffee. See, I didn't have coffee this morning. So I may be short with some of your people.
Okay, I would like to recess our regular Board of County Commission meeting. I'd like to convene our Port Authority meeting. Commissioners, agenda item A, approval of the minutes of April 9th, 2019, and the regular meeting, April 16, 2019 in Port Authority.
I'll move for approval.
Second.
Okay, we've got a proper motion to approve the minutes by Commissioner Goddard and second by Commissioner Rawls. Any discussion? Okay, seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Mr. Chairman,
Minutes pass.
you did a great job. That vote was taken at 9:05. You did a good job on that one, sir.
I think Commissioner Turner pointed out that clock's about 30 minutes slow. Anyway. All right, item B, public comment on Port Authority. I'd like to open up this portion of the meeting to public comment. Any individuals wishing to speak on any of the Port Authority business? Okay, seeing none, we'll close that portion. And C, we'll open up just for general discussion. Minister Suggs, you have an update maybe on the lease?
Yes, sir, we do. We have a signed lease back from St. John Shipbuilders. It took a couple of opportunities to get that done, but we finally got the signed copies back, so we should be getting those on file, and then we actually have a lease now for the facility out there.
Good deal.
Okay. Any questions? Okay, any further business for the Port Authority?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Rawls?
in the past, we've been discussing the possibility of the Port Authority being utilized as a utility authority. I was wondering if there's an update on that.
No, sir, I have no update on the opportunity of using a Port Authority for utility authority.
Has there been any efforts made yet as far as doing the research into that?
No, sir, there has not. We've done a little bit of research, but that's about it. We're in the midst of trying to get budget done right now, and that project is is sitting out there on the priority list. It's just not at the top right now. Thank you.
Okay. Any other items to discuss for the Port Authority? Okay, seeing none, we'll adjourn the Port Authority meeting, and I'll reconvene the regular Board of County Commissioner meeting. We'll move down to number 4. Like Commissioner Harvey said, this is the fun part of our job. Recognitions. I'd like to ask some representatives from the Palaca Young Professionals to come forward, and we have a certificate of recognition that I'll read, and then hopefully y'all will make a few comments on the success of the 2019 Blue Crab Festival. So would y'all come forward? Can you leave your post? Okay, this is a recognition certificate, Putnam County Board of County Commissioners Certificate of Recognition presented to the Palaca Young Professionals in appreciation for their outstanding display of leadership, coordination that made the 2019 Blue Crab Festival incredibly successful, and for continued dedicated service to the community this 11th day of June 2019. I'm honored to present this to y'all. Hopefully all of y'all are going to make some comment. I'll just go and say I've been involved with the Catfish Festivals for some 35 years. And it's a tremendous undertaking, and we're really a day-and-a-half festival. And your Blue Crab Festival goes for 3 days, so it's amazing with the time frame that y'all had to take that task on, put it together, and pull it off. So it's amazing. So hopefully y'all will just give us a few comments and maybe some plans for next year.
Well, my name's Seth Miles. I am the secretary of the Palaca Young Professionals. I am also this year's co-chair of the Blue Crab Festival, the one coming up. I was the marketing director of this past one. Unfortunately, our chairman and our co-chair could not be here today, but we'd like to thank them as well. Katie Long and David Parsons, Laura's husband. They were really like the driving force that pushed us to do this. They coordinated everything and just made it a nice, smooth transition over a 109-day period. We'd like to take the opportunity to thank all of our sponsors, Futch's Tractor Depot, the Beck Automotive Group, Continental Building, Seminole Electric, several others that, we couldn't have done this without them. There was literally only about 10 or 12 of us at any given point in time working on this for a very short amount of time. It was, to say the least, a ridiculous undertaking, but we managed to pull through. I think it was amazing to see all the people who came out and helped, how much this Blue Crab Festival really meant to the community as a whole. That was what was just kept pushing us to get it done. And so I'd like to say thank you to all the volunteers that helped out as well, all of our families who were, left behind while we were constantly working. My wife and child who are here today, they didn't see me for the better part of 3 months. So I'd like to say thank you to all of them as well. All right, so we'll start. My wife, Bryn Miles, Laura Parsons, Benji Bates, and then Lara and Dylan Wallace. These are all Palaca Young Professional members as well. And my daughter, Molly.
All right.
Thank you very much for
Seth,
this, and I'll let someone
Seth.
else speak.
Don't forget to thank Granddad over there for babysitting during the Blue Crab Festival.
Thank you, Pops, for babysitting.
Yeah, he had the hard
Many
part, didn't
times.
he?
All right, I'll let someone else speak.
Also, don't want to forget Matt Buckles. I think when you saw coming over the bridge, that stage, the music, he really, owned that, and I think kind of showed, to me, what the Blue Crab did, it really showed. I know initially I was one of the ones that wanted to do something different. Let's do a different name. But through the process, it showed me that the Blue Crab Festival really is a Putnam County, really is a Palatka event, and we are glad to facilitate in that and be a part of that this year. And I think, to me, it showed what could be. I mean, it was a great event, lots of energy, lots of life, and we're happy for the support of the community for coming out, happy, for all the good press. I can't forget Michael Leonard in the paper. Great, they helped us out with sponsorships. Great article, kept it positive, and just showed really the great things that happened. So again, for everybody that volunteered, Seth, David, Katie for heading it up, and also Matt Buckles, because that music, that stage really kind of set the event, and he crushed it with who he brought in. So again, he's not here, but he had a big hand in that.
Before y'all are gonna have a post Blue Crab Festival meeting, which I highly suggest. You don't wait 6 months. Wait like 2 months before the Catfish Festival happens. That's when we count out. But anything new maybe for next year or?
Yeah, we met I think the week after, and I know a lot of people were like, oh, you're gonna go. It was really fun, and I think kind of Saturday it was like, okay, this is actually working, and then Sunday was a lot of fun. So there was no infighting. I mean, I think really it was kind of a lot more energy. So yeah, we've already talked about some tentative ideas. I mean, there's a million things. All right, we can do this better. We can do this better. I mean, we'll wear those things. And we kind of kept a list. Erin's not here. During the event, we jumped with her, and she had a list on her phone of, hey, we could do this a little better. This went great. So we've already had that post meeting. We'll have a board meeting tomorrow at 5:30. And I'm sure we'll talk ideas, and then we'll sit down with the city and do a post meeting with them at some point and talk through things, positive and negative, and make plans for next year.
Anybody else? Commissioners, any questions?
I had a comment. The fireworks, you need to bring those back. Those are pretty cool. Never seen fireworks that launch, land in the water, and then they launch from the water. They had a pretty cool display.
Mr. Chairman, I think I'd be remiss if I didn't also say how much I thought how well they did at putting this together. I went down there on Sunday, and I was very impressed with all the things that were going on. So kudos to you guys for putting this together. It was a great deal. Thank you.
Commissioner Harvey, I know you have a comment.
Well, let me just kind of say, for 35 years, I've done the Interlarkin July 4th, and I got started because the guy that was doing it, I helped him because he was like 86 years old, and then he died that year, and they were like, who knew anything about it? And, well, I knew some, and I've got it now for 35 years. So, but let me say this. It's always, during the process, it's hard. I get that. But afterward, when you see all the smiling faces and you think about all the life-changing things that happen to people and the good things, the bad things kind of go away. And, now you've got a whole year to gear up, and you got a whole community behind you. And truly, I guarantee you, no one's going to say no to your organization next year. So how can they say no? And, you'll have our support. And whatever we can do in our communities to help you, we'll be glad to do that. So I say thank you, because I know how hard it is, and I know how hot it is. And that doesn't work well sometimes, so I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, thank you so much, because I know that was a tremendous undertaking, and let's give them one more round of applause.
Yeah.
Here, let's stay up.
Yeah, let's stay up. Let's stay up. Stay down there and we'll show what's going on.
Timmy, you trying to make out like you're under 40?
Chris, you can go ahead.
He said, where'd you hear that from, Harvey? I forget where he's got it.
Okay, we'll move down to agenda.
I think he wants to at least mention it.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Mr. Chairman, thank you for that comment. Pastor A.C. Myers is retiring after many, many years of service as the pastor of Interlaken United Methodist Church. And we, as a board, recognized him this morning with a certificate of appreciation. So I just wanted to put that in the public record that we did that. He's made a big impact in that church and brought it a long way, and his last Sunday will be this coming Sunday. So thank you. Thank you,
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you. Administrator Suggs?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Harvey, for the comment just a few minutes ago. One more recognition that's not on the agenda this morning, kind of out of character maybe for a lot of commissions, and certainly out of character for a county administrator to do this. But I'd like to recognize our newspaper affiliate, Mr. Chris Reyes, here this morning. And he doesn't know this by the look on his face, but I understand Mr. Reyes might not be with us much longer. But Chris, I just wanted to say you've done really well here. You represented the meetings well here. You represented the newspaper well here. And you've always been respectful of me in the position that I hold. And I want to say thank you for that. And also I want to wish you the best in your next endeavor.
Okay, we'll move to agenda item 5, presentations, Cars, Riggs, and Ingram, presentation of the annual audit. And Ms. Tina Robinson.
You get two of us today. And that's a hard act to follow.
I know.
Now we get to talk about.
Could you pull the mic up, Tina? There you go.
Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay. I'm Tina Robinson from Car, Riggs, and Ingram, and this is Amy Miller. She's our manager who supervises the on-site field work of the audit, as well as heavily involved in the planning and the wrap-up of the audit. Also with us today is the managing partner in our local office, John Rowe. And then one more I want to mention is Frank Mason, who is our lead audit partner for our unit, had planned to be here today, and unfortunately he injured his back last week, so he's dealing with that pain. But I mention him because he and I both led the audit this year as I cut back some hours and we bring in some new perspective into the audit. So I wanted to make sure that you're aware of that. We do appreciate the opportunity to present the results of our audit. And I'm going to refer you to, I don't know if you're looking at it or if later you want to look at it, but page 146 of your audit book is a summary of the auditor's results. And in that summary regarding the financial statements, in the first section, Roman numeral 1 through 3, we report that in your governmental activities, your business activities, and also your 5 major funds and the aggregate remaining fund group, you received unmodified or clean opinions on each one of those. We actually have to do kind of separate audits to make sure we can give a separate opinion for each of those. There were no material weaknesses found. However, we did make some recommendations on a couple of deficiencies where we felt the IT could be strengthened on risk assessments and also to more clearly document some posting and recording on billings. There was one immaterial noncompliance related to late filing of the SHIP report, and I know you're aware of that one. We also reported here in the Roman numerals 4 through 6 that for the major federal and state grant programs, and that was your FEMA, related to the hurricanes Matthew and Irma, and then on the state side it was the SCOP program, which is roads, and the E911 grant programs. You also received unmodified or clean opinions on those, and those were the programs that met the criteria for major, and there were no matters of noncompliance that we found in those areas. Then I'm going to have Amy present our other reports.
Good morning.
Morning.
Among the other reports that we are required to report to you are our annual reports required by the rules of the State Auditor General. Those start on page 138 of your audit reports, which is the management letter there on page 138. The state requires us to apply financial condition assessments procedures as of the end of your fiscal year. We have to look at to see if you meet the definition of financial emergency or deteriorating financial condition as defined by Florida statutes. Our procedures show that you did not meet those conditions of financial emergency, and you do not meet the statutory definition of deteriorating financial condition. Both good results. Additionally, based on your 2018 expenditures, the available unassigned and assigned general fund balances are sufficient to cover approximately 2.4 months. Last year, you had only about 1.3 months coverage of general operating expenditures in the next year. So your available balances are a little bit better than GFOA's recommendation of 2 months. There are also required reports by the state to comment on whether any prior findings have been corrected. You did have 2 prior findings that were repeated, as Tina mentioned to you earlier, which were the IT-related controls finding in the SHIP annual report, which you are aware of. The next report is on page 140 of your audit report, and that is on our tests of compliance with Florida statute section 218.415 regarding investments. We saw no issues with your investment compliance and have reported here that, in our opinion, the county complied with all material specs with those statutes. The last one is on page 141, which is required by the state, which attests the county's compliance with certain sections of Florida statutes, chapter 365, regarding authorized expenditures and uses of E911 funds. And based on our procedures and tests for that, the county complied in all material respects, again, with those statutes. This concludes our summary of our audit report. And as always, we like to thank management and staff for their cooperation and assistance in the audit process. Of course, Susan Frank and Scott Fleming and the finance team for always responding to our requests and our questions very promptly, and making sure that we get everything that we need on time and in order to issue your audit report on time. So thank you very much to everybody. We will open with questions. Be glad to answer your questions if you have any.
Okay, Commissioner, any questions? Okay, Commissioner Rawls?
You have to bear with me because I'm new at this. So when I was on page 142, when I was reading on the deficiencies, there's one statement that says, but not for the purpose of expressing an opinion on the effectiveness of the county's internal control. And that's where you guys would not offer an opinion. Is that typical, or is that something that is just not included in this particular audit?
No, that's typical. You know, a financial statement audit is not, the main objective of that audit is to give an opinion that the balances are fairly stated and in all material respects. But as far as looking at the internal controls, we have to do that in order to understand what your systems are and, you know, how you arrived at the numbers and that kind of thing. But as a byproduct, then we tell you if we see anything that we think should be improved in those internal controls.
But you
But
don't
it's not
offer any
expressing an opinion
on.
saying those are, you know, that you don't need any change to your internal control, that they're, you know, fine.
Or you need any change?
Tell you what we see, yeah.
Okay, and then throughout this, there reverberates the same statements where it says, our examination does not provide a legal determination of the county's compliance with specified requirements. Again, the question is that typical of all audits, or is your scope limited and you don't look at that part of it? I just wonder why that language is in there.
Right. That is the typical language in there. So you would see this if you looked up in say, any of the professional literature for an audit, the format for an audit report, that's what you would see included there, unless they went outside of that scope and, engaged for some additional procedures. That's what you would see.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Commissioner Harvey?
Thank you, Ms. Robinson and Ms. Miller. To the deficiencies, IT and SHIP. SHIP has kind of been a thing around our neck for a long time, and we've farmed it out to this organization and that organization. Now we got a new organization that's trying to pick it up and clean it up. In your professional opinion, I'm sure you do others, is there anything we can do to help speed this along faster? Because it's kind of been around for a long time, and we want to serve our customers. We want to serve the residents a little better. And I think the new group we have is trying to do that. They really are. But do you see anything we could probably do better maybe in that?
Yeah, I probably really couldn't give you,
Okay.
some ideas on what to do to change there, because, the group that you employ, you're ultimately, the county's responsible for getting that filing done, but you're always entitled to outsource that, and I know that you relied on the group that you had for years, for a long time, and it was filed timely. So I'm not sure exactly what the particular issue this year.
Okay, thank you.
Or the year that they didn't file it correctly, which was not this current year.
I'll be glad when that one goes away. I'll be glad.
Right.
So thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Any other questions or comments?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Smith?
I would like to just highlight the part that Tina talked about with the reserves, because I think that's important, because we struggle with that reserve balance for the last few years, and that showed that we're now at 2.4 months worth of reserves. The GFOA, Government Finance Officers Association recommendations is at least 2 months. So I want to commend all in this effort over the last year to make that improvement and to get our reserve balance in a much more positive area. And you all should be thanked for your work, and Stacy and staff that's had to, tighten the belt and cut back and get those reserves back up. So I wanted to make sure that was highlighted again in her report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Okay. Any other comments? Yeah, I'd like to also thank staff for it was a tough budget year last year, and looks like we're headed into another one this year. And but thank you, staff, for working with Tina and Amy and Mr. John Rowe back there, and thank you for a good report. So, any other questions? Okay, thank you so much.
Will there be an acceptance?
Oh, okay. Do we need a motion? Okay. Okay.
I motion to approve the
Okay.
presentation.
All right.
Second.
We got a motion to accept the presentation from Commissioner Harvey and a second by Commissioner Rawls. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. It passes.
Thank you.
They didn't put that on my instruction sheet.
I know I have to hear before I go.
Okay, before we move to public comment, I'd like to ask Charles Oberturf, Supervisor of Elections, to come forward and he'll talk to us a little bit about the canvassing board.
Good morning, Commissioners. If you don't mind, let me first start off by saying, Terry, I want to express to you and Ms. Laura my deepest sympathy in the tragic loss of your daughter. Not just a wonderful lady, but also a vital part of this community, so I express my sympathy to you. Just wanted to take a couple of minutes of your time, if I could, today, as we are rapidly approaching our big year next year with the three major elections. The reason I had mentioned to...
They're having a hard time.
Oh, I'm sorry. The reason I had mentioned to Administrator Suggs that I wanted to get with you is because you all need to be thinking about who will represent you, which is a vital part of our canvassing board. Not only do we have a county judge, the supervisor of elections, but we also have at least one of you all as a representative. Then we also have to have alternates for that. Anybody that is on the ballot next year that has opposition is not eligible, so some people get off of the task of not having to be able to do that, but I do look at several that are on there, on the commission, that have that opportunity to serve. I do want to go ahead and tell you about next year. As I said, we have 3 major elections. We have the presidential preference primary in March. We have the August local primary, mostly local in in March, and then in August for the primary, and then the big one, which may be the biggest election the state of Florida has ever seen next year for president. So it is going to be a major undertaking, probably 30 meetings between the 3 elections that we would, really want you to be there if at all possible. There is a canvassing board statewide meeting that's coming up in October. I know that's still about 4 months off, but I can tell you I have already reserved rooms because there's that many people coming. The state, if you all keep up with the legislature, knows that they passed some major rule changes just in the last few weeks in the legislature, and one of those deals with handwriting, and they are going to require, if the governor signs it, they are going to require us as a canvassing board to have handwriting training, so that if we look at a ballot, a signature of an envelope on an envelope, that if we kick that out, that we've got some kind of training to say why that it does not appear to be whoever's signature and all. And so they're wanting the judges, commissioners, and the supervisors to all have some kind of training. And that is going to be offered at that meeting. It's October the 24th. Like I said, I've already got rooms just in anticipation, because it's a lot easier to cancel than it is not to get one and then somebody be mad at me. We usually will go down the evening before, because they start fairly early that Friday morning, and it will go probably till 4 o'clock that afternoon. Again, everybody in the state, so it'll be several hundred people that'll be there. So I just wanted to talk with you this morning about that just a minute or two, and let you all maybe discuss it a little bit. Right now, probably Commissioner Goddard is the only one, because you are up for re-election and do have opposition, so you probably would be the one that will not be able to serve. Commissioner Pickens is up, and as of this moment doesn't have anybody, and so there is that possibility. The statute says if you have opposition. The other 3, Terry has said he's not running unless he changes his mind. So the other 3, so you all, if you want to discuss it a little bit and then get back with me and let me know, or if you want to ask questions this morning, the sooner we make that commitment. I do have the commitment of both judges. Judge Morris is up for re-election. As of this moment, she doesn't have anybody. I also am up, and I don't have anybody as of this moment. If we do, then of course we'll come back and say we've got to have alternates for those. Now, the chief judge will appoint Judge Boatwright to take her place if that happens, and they've already worked on that together. But that's why I wanted to come to you all. It's just to let everybody be thinking about it, maybe talk about it a little bit, and see if there is anything I can help answer, as far as that's concerned. It's not an expense to you. I take care of the room, the meals, and the travel, so I'll reimburse you. One final thing that has done in the past is I got so used to Mr. Manning being there, because he was so believed in it and was so dedicated. And so I've mentioned to Terry that, whenever eventually if the new firm comes in or a new person comes in for that, we want to include him or her in that, because it is a vital aspect of the canvassing board, is to have somebody that can, help guide us as we make decisions, and try to make sure that we do the best job we can for the candidates and for the voters. So don't know if anybody has a question or anything that you want to ask about, or you want to discuss this while it's an open meeting.
Okay, Charles. Commissioner Harvey?
I do. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Overture, for that presentation. But aren't we prohibited also, if we are on the canvassing board, to support any candidates publicly and privately, basically? So some of us might have already been doing that. And, so.
Commissioner Harvey, you are correct. In fact, I brought the statute just to read it, and it says an active participant. Now, let me mention one thing. Just giving a contribution to a candidate does not, in the state's eyes, does not eliminate a person from serving. But if you hold a fundraiser, if you are the campaign manager or the treasurer, in anything like that that you believe. So it comes to you all. If you believe you are an active participant, then, I would suggest not, because that way we don't bring any reproach or somebody have a problem and say, oh, I know Larry was helping so-and-so and he's in there, deciding is that a good vote or not, those kind of things. Not that you would anyway, but it just keeps it. But it's not just, like I said, just giving money, because that is, a state accepted thing that you can do that. But if you go further than that, then that eliminates it. So, and we had this 2 years ago, I guess it was, or so, when Mr. Lible, and he bowed out because he felt like he'd gone too far with that, that kind of thing. So it does happen. So that's up to you, as far as that.
I think the elections are so important and so transparent, as you well agree, that, any impropriety might seem tainted, if you will. So I think if we're going to do it, if we've already done it, we need to expose that, and then promise not to do any more from that point on.
Right, and that's what we did, and that's how Commissioner, when Commissioner Pickens was running, and Miss Nancy was appointed after Chip, and they had already done that ahead of time, and so there was, it was known to the public, and there wasn't anything that they did between themselves after that, which was, the state was fine with that, and again, we want it to be, especially, I've already been told, just go ahead and get ready next year for a recount for the presidents. I mean, and again, Florida may decide who it is. It may be that close again. So we want everything to be done in order, and proper as best we can. So, and then always be ready for the unexpected also.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Turner?
if you draw opposition, who is going to lead this process? I mean, you've been through it, and Judge Libby, if she draws opposition, she can't. And obviously, the two of y'all have led this for quite some time. So who would come in and lead the process?
Terry, the statute says that the chief judge would nominate somebody for her. We already know that would be Judge Boatwright, and they've already worked that out, so they've already got that. If it's me, we come back to the county commission and you all name somebody. It does say that the supervisor has a right to be a helper, so to speak, because of the knowledge and have done it and that kind of thing. But as far as if it came down to votes, it would, I would have no vote in it whatsoever, just like any of you that were not on the canvassing board would. So we would come back to you all and say, hey, we need some.
So you can
and technically, it's
you
supposed to be
still
one of you all.
involved, in other words.
I'm sorry?
You can still be involved.
Oh, yeah,
You
yeah.
just
It
can't
doesn't take
vote
away
on
from the
anything.
day-to-day. It just, as far as the canvassing board is concerned, as far as that. And I did want to say that the statute comes back and says if the first choice is one of you all, so we could, if all of a sudden we could get really thin with possibilities. And as we did last time when I think, Buddy, you were the chairman, and you named Ms. Stella as the alternate, so it can be public citizens or staff or whatever, whoever you all come up with. But I just wanted to, throw this out to you, just let you all be thinking about it. And some of you may already have a desire to want to do it. Some may have a desire not to do it.
You see staff going.
Right, but that'll be up to you all to make that decision at some point. But the sooner we make it, the better, if at all possible. Just so, like I said, you all can put it on your calendar. We really need you down there that day, if at all possible, because we will go over a lot of things. It's October the 24th. It's a Friday, and like I said, I've got rooms for Thursday night, so we don't have to get up before day and break and head down there, so we can plan on that, and then we'll come back that evening.
I assume you'd like our answer as soon as possible, correct?
The sooner the better, just because so I can get you there's a registration and all that kind of stuff that I'll need to get to send to the state. And I will say this, any attorneys that go, they get the not public service hours.
CLEs.
Exactly, the judges do, I do. So anybody that needs continuing education or whatever, we get that when we go, so.
You said the 24th, but that's the 25th of Friday.
Okay, I'm sorry. I've got the room on the 24th, so
Okay.
that's what, yeah, it's that Friday, October the 25th, and it's at the DoubleTree near the airport there in Orlando, and they figured that was a big enough place to have. 67 counties have anywhere from 2 to 6 or 7 apiece, so it's a pretty big undertaking.
Just happened to be in Orlando, though. Who wants to go to Orlando?
Well, but there, you know the best, when people
I
from
know,
Pensacola
I know.
come and stuff, it's more centrally located than it is to say we all need to drive to Miami or,
No, come to Putnam County.
right?
Down to you.
Just for clarification, you said you're going down the 24th, the meeting's actually on Friday morning?
It's the Friday. It'll start at 9 or 9:30 and go till about 4 that afternoon. They will provide lunch, and sometimes they'll have a one of the federal judges or somebody to speak to talk about some of the cases that they have seen that come up in front of the judges on canvassing board issues and things like that. So, but it'll be mainly training of what you may see, that kind of thing. And then at some point, they are going to bring in somebody that is going to try to go over training for handwriting, you know, to give us a better idea. Some of us have already had it, but a lot of them have not had it. And so they're going to try to meet that legislative statute that they just passed, as long as the governor signs it, and I think he will, so.
Mr. Goddard, you want to make a comment on how much fun you had on the canvassing board?
Actually,
last year?
I did enjoy it. It was a lot of long hours, but Mr. Overturf has done a fantastic job with his staff. But the equipment, I was chewing my fingernails down to the end because we had a lot of numbers and we were crunching them at the end, and they had to match, and boom, they came out exactly. I mean, you're talking about relieved, because if it didn't, we got to go through this again. It was a good undertaking, but I enjoyed being there, and how I know it's secure. Everything is secure. Every signature is checked. It was a good experience. I actually enjoyed it.
We did with the 3 recounts, we did something that has never happened in the history of Florida, to have 3 at one time. I think we'll be fortunate next year that there's not that many state races that could be that close. But I think the big one, of course, is for President of the United States, and I fully expect that one to be extremely close, just like the 3 that we had last year were. And so whoever's on there with us, it is going to be some hours, there's no doubt, because we want to do it right and get the results as soon as we can, that kind of thing. So, just all of you think about it, and if you could decide who wants to do the main part and who wants to be alternates and then who wants to be backups in case some of us can't serve, then, we need to have thought about all of that way before we get close to October, if at all possible.
Okay. Yeah, we don't have a 2 o'clock workshop this afternoon, but we do have one next Tuesday at 9, so maybe we can discuss it, maybe make a decision then. Is that okay, Commissioners?
Sure, it's good to me.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Charles.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move to item 6, public comment. This portion of the agenda is designed to allow citizens an opportunity to bring matters to the attention of the board. It's not reasonable to expect the board will engage in debate or deliberation on matters on which the board has received no prior information as part of the agenda. Please limit your comment to 3 minutes. We prefer if you'd fill out a comment card. They're available at the entrance and the exit of our building, and then give them to Sarah Oliver over to my left, to your right. And our first public comment is Mr. Pete Ackerman. And Miss Cynthia Asia is going to come with him. If you'll please state your name and address for the record and speak clearly into the microphone.
Good morning. My name is Pete Ackerman. I reside at 278 Union Camp Road, Crescent City. And I represent the Quakers Southeast Yearly Meeting of the United States. We have a long history of social justice issues. And this morning, I'd like to bring up a review of the Department of Correction work contract that the county has. And at first, I'd like to thank a couple of staff members, Carla and Tabitha, for getting me the contract copies, and Laura for communicating with me about how to do this. So thank you very much. The purpose of us being here is to bring up for review the county contract with the Department of Corrections. I don't expect that to be done right at this moment, but in the future with a workshop or whatever. I also asked Laura to present to you folks a copy of an article, an in-depth article concerning work contracts in Florida. Did you all get that? Okay. It's pretty long. I don't know if you've had a chance to read it, but part of the issue in that, as well as the history of work programs in prison work programs in Florida, is a mention that in Alachua County recently in December, the commission there voted to divest of work contracts with the Department of Correction, followed quickly by the city of Gainesville doing the same thing. So the ultimate purpose of what we're initiating here would hopefully be the commission divesting in a similar manner of those contracts with the Department of Corrections. As you know, the 13th Amendment was passed in 1865, it's 150 years ago, abolishing slavery and indentured servitude. However, there was a clause in there that allowed that to occur with prisoners who had been convicted of crimes as part of their punishment. I think it's time for a change. Obviously, we can't make an amendment to the Constitution here, but we can initiate some justice in equality. So what's the ask? The ask would be a workshop, perhaps, to review the cost of this program. I noticed that between 2018 and 2019, there was an amendment to the contract, which actually doubled the cost from like $60,000 to $113,000. Shaking his head. Okay.
Press Tompkins is shaking his head, so real quick, Press, and we've got about 2 more minutes. Don't they run about 65,000 per crew? How many do we have? 3? Okay, okay.
You know, I've got a copy here that it went up another $60,000 to pay for an extra guard. That's a yearly salary for a guard.
Mr. Chairman,
It went from
while I
1 guard to
appreciate
2 guards.
everybody's passion in this particular thing, I don't know that someone can expect us under public comment to debate
Right.
whether or not we want to use work crews in the future.
Right. Okay, so let's keep the numbers out of this.
Okay.
We understand your passion to take this to a workshop, so if you get with Administrator Suggs, and then we'll have all the figures where we can look at those, and
Excellent.
that's what I would suggest.
Well, we have got a great opportunity to move forward in this, and thank you. And Cynthia.
Good morning. I just wanted to make a comment. Angela Duke was supposed to be here, but I am a part of the A. Philip Randolph Museum down in Crescent City. If this were to come to fruition, the A. Philip Randolph Museum does have facilities available for training to assist those persons prior to release so that they could go back into the community as self-sufficient, productive citizens. And we just wanted to let that be known, that we're concerned that sometimes when persons are released, that they have a difficult time transitioning back into society. And we want to continue to make sure that our citizens are self-sufficient. And so the training facility is available there in Crescent City.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Agee. Can you state your address just for the record, please?
My home address, 424 North Fern Street, San Mateo.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. And get with Administrator Suggs and then Laura about putting this on a workshop agenda. Okay? All right, thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. Okay, next public comment, Mr. Liam Rawls. I don't have a box to set down there where he can, but he looks like he's grown a foot since I've seen him last.
Get a chair for him.
Liam. Live.
And the address?
2129 Diana Drive.
Now you're going to be a shy guy.
We wanted to ask about having nighttime meetings. So those of us that work and can't come to the meetings at 9 o'clock, and those of us that go to school cannot come and see you guys make decisions and be educated on things that are happening in our community. And that's all we wanted to say.
Okay,
Say good
all
morning,
right,
Commissioners.
thank you.
Mine too, Commissioners.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good morning.
For
Thank
the
you.
record, I am in favor of nighttime meetings.
Okay, next, Mr. Douglas Hayes.
Good morning. My name is Douglas Hayes, candidate for county commissioner. I live at 216 Hilltop Road. The reason I'm here is to address three nifty things. One is I think I found a desirable location in regards for a new animal control facility. Right across from the library, there is a building that is for sale. It was stated to me, it used to be the old roller skating rink. There was issues that were presented to me that there may be structural roofing problems, some type of integrity. I spoke with the realtor. There is no engineering architectural notes to that effect. I even used the word disclosure and got a direct phone call because we were texting and emailing. So he swore up and down that there is nothing to his knowledge. The latest, they wanted $750,000. Somebody did an offer of $600,000. They were willing to accept it. They're at the level right now where they're willing to take a proposed bid. I think we can scoop it up for about $550,000 to $600,000. The location is outstanding to suit the people. There's a big parking lot in the back 40 that's got what I refer to as old lady space. It's tired, but for kennel facilities, you want to do an underground water line for heating and cooling anyway, so it would be a good substrate to work with. And then the building structure, I propose to get with the community college. We are a veterinary deficient county established by the state, and develop an animal study so that we have self-sufficiency in regards to our spade and neutering, not counting that our children, if they want to do the veterinary industry, they have to leave the county. We've become reliant upon other counties and other locations for our spade and neutering. So it'd be all in one. Also, there might be some grant money that would be available for the community college by providing that service. They're in the business to be in business. I've tried to correspond with the president of the community college, and then still waiting 2 years to hear back from him. So anyway, that's my proposed idea. I heard that there is a workshop coming up and that there may be another location that is desirable. If I could find out that location, you might be able to convince me otherwise, but I really propose this location. We can scoop it up. I realize that we basically have $750,000 in the bank to deal with it. We can lowball bid it and play back and forth, and we might have some leftover monies to do all the refurbishment and repairs. The second thing is that Palaca has been granted $300,000 for brownfield cleanup determination. It is not money to clean up brownfields, but it's a good time to maybe get the ball rolling. The Department of Environmental Protection has a brownfield cleanup training program, and there's grant funding available, and it's for poor people. So my proposed idea is, I'll try to be brief, I'm sorry. My proposed idea is that when we do the relocation of the animal control, preferably to be renamed Animal Services and Rescue, that building could be a schoolhouse for the training program. Part of the grants, we don't really have a certified trainer at the landfill, but that would be a place where they could get their OJT pushing trash around, because we seem to have an employment issue of retaining people running the equipment. So we can train them, they can do their bench time, and we can get a certified trainer through this granting program. So if you look into brownfield cleanups, we might be able to get the ball rolling. It'll save some of our landfill costs and employ some people. And in that training process, they learn also to be certified to clean up meth labs. And the idea would be that these people would get trained. We have 102 established places that are considered either polluted or two actual brownfields. And so why we are using money to determine more is simply saying that we're even more polluted than what we thought. But we have done nothing to clean them up. And so I think it would be a good idea to start that process. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Hayes. Mr. Chairman, if you don't mind. Mr. Hayes.
Mr. Rollins.
Mr. Hayes, regarding that building, personally speaking, I do have intimate knowledge of the condition of the roof, and it is in a condition of need to be replaced. I don't know if putting an animal control shelter proximal to single-family and multifamily residential is a wise thing to do, but that building is really it's just a shell of a building, to be honest with you. There's no heating, no electrical. You have your service coming in, that's where it stops. So that 24,000 square foot building, the roofing alone would probably somewhere around $200,000 to remove and replace that. So I don't know personally how great of an idea that would be.
We might be able to get some other funding or appropriations when we know what we're doing. The other thing would be is I have taken consideration of the residents that's next to it. And because I go to the library all the time, they often be dog owners and walk their dogs and stuff, so they might be tolerant to the issue within reason.
Right.
The other part is that I propose, I know that some of you all have been adamant about being close to the jail so that the prisoners could work the dogs. But I look at the library as a mecca for volunteerism, and it's close to the community college so that we could have the college students that need to do community service in regards to their scholarships, that we could utilize those resources. And we're already trucking prisoners all the way out to the landfill. It's a short haul. And then we could possibly utilize the property that's been granted to us to establish it as a dog park, so to speak. And so we could have temporary quarters or some type of program, and that keeps the prisoners away from the general public. And then the other concern is that the location that's been granted to us, because it's wetlands, I'm not sure if it's wetlands or if it's this lower floodplain, but we have a problem with mosquitoes. Now, mosquitoes bring heartworms. So here you're going to house a population of dogs close to a mosquito environment risking heartworms. And unfortunately, if we wanted to do large animal area, because that part of my thought was pasturing, is that once again with mosquitoes, and there is an increase in equiencephalitis and those type of diseases, that unfortunately that location might not be good for a full-time service of housing population. Temporary quarters, a little dog park, that kind of thing, perhaps, because it's short-lived. But we're just, you're real close to the fire, so to speak. And unless there's another location that I just think it's outstanding as an availability for the population. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Hayes. Okay. Any other public comment? Okay. Mr. Earl Bellinger.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Earl Ballinger, live at 496 Clifton Road in Crescent City. Today, we need to talk about public participation, citizens' participation. It's not a nasty word. It's just not used very much around here. You all see this agenda every meeting. It's full of openings. They never go away. They're always there. I think that if the citizens of Putnam County knew that they were available, that they would volunteer for some of these spots. They would help if they knew about it. They don't know about it. Why don't they know about it? Because they never come to these meetings. You all sit up there and you look back behind me and you see there's more employees back there than there are citizens. It's like that every week, just about. We have to do something to get the public here. I don't know what it is. I mean, I know we've tried night or evening meetings. I know we've tried meetings in Crescent City. We've tried meetings in Interlochen. Nothing seems to work. You guys know commissioners in other counties. Talk to them. What do they do to get people out? I mean, I would like to help, but I don't know how. I'm leaving it up to y'all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Earl.
Earl, you were here at the last meeting, I think, during commissioner comments, when I tried to put it even out on the airwaves that we have people that we need on committees. I have not had one person contact me in the last 2 weeks to show any interest in any of the committees that are available from my district, other than Douglas, that's correct. Sorry, Douglas. Yes, sir.
Do we have any idea of how well these meetings, they're being aired on the internet? How many people watch them? Is there any way we can keep track of that?
I think so. I think it shows the views on the YouTube channel.
That's right.
Do we have any idea how much that is?
I do not.
Earl, I've seen some, because I watch some of them just to see, try to critique myself and really to listen to some of the presentations and stuff like that. And I've seen as many as 150, I think, views, and as low as 30-something. So you know, have we ever advertised this in the paper, Administrator Suggs?
I won't say that I can't confirm if we do advertise the openings for our committees within the paper, but all our agendas are posted online. You can see the replays of the commission meetings. All the agendas are available, and we can track the number of views that we have of our meetings. That's a number that IT can give us if we need to know that number. But you know, we discuss these things every single week. All 5 commissioners are out stomping the district for folks to come in here. I don't know what else we can do, and I know it's certainly something on the discussion every week.
Well, I've actually reached out to the department heads that are over those committees or closest to those committees. I've also reached out to some of the committee members themselves, because those are the people that are going to know who have like interest to them to sit on a certain committee, whether it be parks or whatever. So it's not like we're not giving it a whirl, and I can't help that the public doesn't want to get more involved, Earl. I don't have that magic wand, my friend.
I know, it's just, I really think people would volunteer if they knew more about it. And I know we've had some hiccups in the committees here so far this year, but you're working very hard to get them straightened out, or have got them straightened out. Maybe we need to let the public know that too. I don't have an answer for you, but I'm letting y'all let y'all work on it.
Okay. Commissioner Harvey?
Thank you, Mr.
Earl,
Chairman.
if you give me a second, Earl. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Not only, Earl, is this list the ones we need, but in my district, we have 5 MSBUs that handle those citizens' roads, over 19,000 lot owners out there. And it's kind of funny, I get calls about, I need my road fixed. And we have a process that we have an MSBU coordinator we go through. And the first thing I ask them, would you be willing to serve on the committee? Because we're really down to nobody or just one, and we're not, that's not correct. We need to do better than that. No, I don't want to serve. And it's almost the same people that you get calls from, and every email or every phone call I say, please serve, please serve. Because these committees are citizen-led committees that can do great things for Putnam County. But undoubtedly, and it's our Rotary clubs are down, our service clubs are down. You know, people, they don't want to be involved unless they really have an issue. And I have talked to my counterparts throughout the state, and believe me, they all say it's the same 5 people that show up at every meeting, whether they're at night, during the day, weekends, it doesn't matter. Unless there's an issue that's burning in their pocket, they will not come. And I don't want to be the one to create an issue just to get people here to make it a non-issue. You know, that's not we really need help. And all of us, at the end of our meetings, say, if you want to serve, contact us. We'd love to have you, because we got room for you. But maybe we need to look at our committees and say, you know what, maybe we need to concise some of them. Maybe they're too spread out. I don't know the answer for that, but I know we need help, and we want help. So, thank you. Oh, 55 people watched on May 14th. I'm sorry.
55 people.
Okay.
Just look,
Yeah, we both looked at that.
Okay.
We got the same tie on.
Commissioner Rawls?
Earl, one more thing. I personally am in favor of nighttime meetings. If nobody shows in the daytime and nobody shows at nighttime, it doesn't matter. But folks that I talk to cannot attend meetings at 9 o'clock in the morning because it's inconvenient with their work schedule or their school schedule or getting kids ready for school, whatever their personal life is. I did have committee handbooks and responsibilities written down on my commissioner comment section, and what I was doing there is the staff pulled together a handbook for the Better Place Plan, and what I want to do is encourage them to do the same thing for all the committees. What I've seen on the committees that I've visited is that in some cases there seems to be some disorientation. People don't really know what they're doing. They're just kind of going with the flow. There's citizens meetings that are being led by staff, and the citizens feel like staff has the answers, but the staff is saying, well, we don't really have the answer. But at the end of the day, I've been here for 6.5, 7 months now, and I've never seen a committee stand in front of this commission and advise us. We'll get a report from staff here and there, but I think, personally speaking, just as commissioner, what we really need is citizens' engagement. We need the citizens to engage the commission and let us know which direction we need to be heading. I have been asking for strategic planning. That's going to take a lot of citizens' involvement. We meet twice a month. Nothing happens from 1 month to the next, it seems like, and we're still asking the same question. And my fear is at the end of November, when I've been here for a year, I'm still asking the same questions. And well, we're looking into it. Well, we're trying to do this. We're overwhelmed with the budget. We're overwhelmed with this. We're overwhelmed with that. We got 2.4 months of money in our reserves, and yet we're not taking care of other business somewhere. So it's going to take a lot of citizens' involvement and participation. The responsibilities and the handbook for the communities, I think, was a step in the right direction. There was a lot of confusion on the Better Place Plan as to what the roles of the committee members are. Now they have a sense of direction, and I hope that we do the same thing for all the committees. Animal committee was another one. So I would encourage you to go back. You have a pretty big voice on the Republican Club. Maybe talk to some of the members of the Republican Club and ask them to get involved. Tonight we'll have between 60 and 70 people be in front of, and that might be a good time to bring that up. But also go out and talk to the Democrats, and they have a formal committee as well, and see if we can get them to be involved. But it's going to take a lot of involvement, and a lot of people out there beating the streets and asking for people to not just say they'll participate, but actually show up and be a voice.
Get people in here, that's all we have to do. I don't think we need to pay them to get them in here.
Mm-hmm. Just need to get them in here.
Thanks, sir. That's a good thing, because none of those committees pay anything. All right, we're going to wrap this up. Douglas, you have one more comment?
He wants me to put him on animal control. I'm not going to do it, so we'll listen. Too long about skipping,
All right,
please.
any more public comment? We're going to close the public comment portion of this meeting. We'll move to our consent agenda. Commissioners, we have consent agenda A through H, and we have an addendum, which would be 7I, which is a resolution to name the entrance road of Veterans Village, Frank V. Oliver Way. So that will be an addition.
Mr. Chairman?
And then, hang on just a second, and then it's been brought to my attention that staff wants to pull item G and item H from the agenda. Okay. Are there any items the commissioners wish to pull? We'll start with Commissioner Harvey.
I have none, sir.
Okay. Commissioner Turner.
I have none.
Okay. Commissioner Rawls. Okay. Commissioner Goddard.
I have none.
Okay, and I have none.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to,
Do we have to have a separate motion to pull the two items?
I would recommend that we do that, sir. Go ahead and make a motion to pull those, and then you can get back to your consent agenda.
Okay, do we need a motion to add the item, or is that okay?
I would do it the same way.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we remove G and H as recommended by staff.
Second.
Okay, we've got a proper motion by Commissioner Rawls and a second by Commissioner Harvey. Any discussion? Okay, seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to move that we add item I.
Second.
Okay, we've got a proper motion by Commissioner Harvey to add aye. Commissioner Rawls seconded. Any discussion?
Mr. Chairman, under discussion.
Okay, Commissioner Turner?
We're just adding this to the consent agenda,
That's correct.
item I. Okay. So I just want to know we're not going to discuss it. We're just adding it to the consent
That's correct.
agenda.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, so we've got a proper motion, a proper second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to move the consent agenda items A, B, C, D, E, F, and I for approval.
Second.
Okay, we've got a proper motion to approve the consent agenda by Commissioner Harvey and a second by Commissioner Rawls. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Consent agenda moves forward. We'll move down to item 8, comments by Mr. Tim Smith, clerk of court.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have no items today.
Okay, Commissioners, as we were just discussing appointments, any appointments today? We'll start with Commissioner Rawls.
I have none.
Okay, Commissioner Goddard?
I have none.
I have none. Commissioner Turner?
I have none.
No, I have none, sir.
Commissioner Harvey? Okay. Okay, we'll move down to closing comments. County Administrator, Terry Suggs.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, thank you for that. I really have no comments this morning. I will reserve my comments for when we hold our workshop in our next Port Authority meeting. I'll address a couple of concerns in Port Authority at that time, but other than that, I have no comments this morning. Thank you.
Mr. Young, County
No,
Attorney.
other than thanks for being here.
Okay, thank you for keeping us straight today. All right, Commissioner comments. We'll start with Commissioner Rawls.
I got some comments and questions. I wrote down ship compliance with a question mark. Where are we at with that right now as far as, are we still trying to get 2013 closed out on ship?
I believe that is correct. I'm sorry. Did you have? Yeah, Matt answered that, because he's been in more contact with him. I believe we're in the process of getting that one closed out and an aggressive timeline to get everything else moving forward, but I'll let Matt address that.
Yes, sir. We're currently working on closing out, I believe, the fiscal year 14-15 funds, and I'm working on setting up a face-to-face meeting with our third-party consultants next week to go over the current state of the SHIP program.
Do we currently have an active ship committee? Are they meeting and doing anything, or?
The Affordable Housing Committee? Yes, sir.
Okay. Are they precluded from doing anything with the funds until this is resolved, or are they still able to work within this budget year?
Where the way the SHIP funds work is they would like for us to expend the oldest fiscal year funds first in order to bring our oldest years into compliance. And so we are working through those in order to encumber those funds and expend those funds, working through the waiting list on the 3 different categories.
Okay. The next thing I had was committee handbooks and responsibility. We've already discussed that. I really like what you put together. Thought that was a good job. Has there been any discussion or thought about giving that to the other committees? So all I really have to do is just modify the one handbook that deals with the particular committee. Everything else is boilerplate.
Yes, sir. That was my thoughts behind designing it kind of that way, having a citizen committee handbook itself, which kind of describes overall Robert's Rules of Order, Sunshine Law, public records, and then drafting a separate document more specifically for each committee itself. I just haven't had time to start working on other committees, but I did get the Better Place committee orientation information done.
Good job on that. Animal shelter land, any progress on that at all, or?
At a meeting yesterday, just by happenstance, we had Water Management District here. I spoke with Alan Baggett, I believe is who is the contact for there. Let them know that we have removed the alligator that they were concerned about, so we should get some further movement hopefully now. And that was the conversation yesterday.
Okay, so we're still, right now, we're planning to move forward with
The
that
the
parcel?
plan right now is to move forward with that so we can do an analysis to see if it's the best fit for the site.
Okay. And then, on the insurance committee, I'm extremely perplexed, and I wasn't there last year and the year before. At some point in time, this commission is going to be asked to vote on moving forward with insurance in some fashion. But what little bit of information I've been given at the 2 insurance committee meetings that we've had wouldn't give me enough information to be able to cast an educated vote. At some point in time, when this thing is put to bed, and I realize that it's under protest, will there be presentations made to the commission so we can have all the information that everybody else had, or is it going to be the limited information that we were provided at the committee meetings?
The subcommittee that was responsible, and I don't want to speak for Clay Davis, our chair of the Health Insurance Subcommittee, he's not here today, but the subcommittee is acting in the fashion in which it was directed a year ago. We were following the direction of the Insurance Committee. It was recommended at that time to put a subcommittee together to go out and research whether or not a self-funded versus fully funded insurance plan was the right approach for Putnam County. And so we have followed that process. Each time we've moved through the process, we've brought it back to the full Insurance Committee for a review and an approval or denial. And after that, we would move it forward if such, which is what we've done to the Board of County Commissioners on the other occasion, to go out for an RFP. Once the RFPs were put out on the street and we got those responses back, again, the subcommittee met with the full Insurance Committee for their recommendation of either to move forward or not. And as you know, last week, the last one was to move forward. Now we're under a protest period, so that's where we're at with the Insurance Committee. As far as further presentations, that will be up to the direction of the full Insurance Committee. The subcommittee has done exactly what it was charged to do and directed to do at this point. So where we go from here after the protest period, we'll go back to the Insurance Committee and get further direction.
My question, though, specifically is for this commission. So we will not have the benefit of knowing all the backgrounds, but we're asked to cast the final vote and bind us to either fully insured or self-insured. Is that correct?
To directly answer your question, you as one of the 5 members sitting on the BOCC are members of the Insurance Committee. So all the information that's provided to the Insurance Committee is then provided to you to make your decision.
But that's been very limited to date.
That is the process for which what we work under.
Right.
That was the Insurance Committee, so we're following their direction, but every step of the way, everything that the subcommittee has done has come back to the entire Insurance Committee as a whole. And again, the 5 commissioners sit on the Insurance Committee.
Well, I guess specifically, there apparently the subcommittees, or maybe the Insurance Committee before I got elected, heard presentations from groups at some point. Has there been presentations made to the subcommittee that the full Insurance Committee was not privy to?
Once we went through the process, we did have presentations held right here in the Commissioner Chambers with the entire Insurance Committee that was sitting through. As a matter of fact, you sat in one of them.
I actually came in late to one of them, but I just happened to be in my office, and I stepped out, and I caught the tail end of one.
But that's the process that's in place.
But at that meeting, there was no other committee members there. It was strictly the subcommittee. I guess where I'm going is, the subcommittee gets the information, they digest it, they regurgitate it back to the full committee. The full committee asks the BOCC to take action on it. Without being privy to all the information, I'm just stating for the record, I'm not looking for an argument here.
That's fine.
I just don't feel like I've been given enough information. I'm not familiar enough with the backgrounds because I wasn't privy to that information as it was moving forward. The last thing I had here was the hog wallet response. But talked to you the other day. Have we prepared that and sent that to the news agency?
There's been more than one response sent.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
That's all I got.
Commissioner Goddard, you had a comment?
Yeah, I know that you did come in late, so you weren't at all those, but you really need to set up an appointment and sit, you can't sit with Clay Davis?
Nope, sunshine. And that's my problem. I can't speak to anybody that's on the committee outside of the meeting.
I was under the understanding they could talk one-on-one.
No, we all have a vote.
No, sir, that is it's a quasi-judicial type of committee, so no, they won't be able to speak without being at an advertised meeting.
Okay, but there are notes that were, because the four of us have been up to date, so we've had all the information given to us so that we can make a wise decision. Isn't there things that are available that he could read, though? Because these were minutes were taken at these meetings.
Absolutely, we can sit down, we can do, yes,
Okay,
Julianne.
yeah, because I know I'm speaking for the other four, but I know I've gotten all the information.
I've been
gotten the
I've been at 2 insurance committee meetings where I was handed very limited information. I've made a request for the RFP, which I just received, for the responses to the RFP. So I've got to start going through that. But I guess what concerns me a little bit is that at some point I'm going to be asked to cast a vote on something that I'm not familiar with. So
okay.
I need to get myself to the speed as soon as possible, and I need to get as much information as soon as possible.
I can understand it. I know that for myself, I'm comfortable. I've gotten the information.
Is there a conflict for me to contact the respondents individually after the protest period?
Well, one solution that might help you is that one solution that I might be able to propose and even facilitate for you is that the county engaged the Bailey Group to be consultants as experts and independent of anything going on. And they have done the masses of the analysis for all of us. And we can sit down for as many hours as you'd like with all members of the Bailey Group and go through each and every document received, as well as the presentation that they gave to everyone else a year ago, which I know you have a copy of that. You have a copy of all of the documents at this point. But we could sit down as industry experts with them and hopefully get you to a comfort level that you feel is where you would like to be.
Okay.
If you'd like to do that.
If I recall, the Bailey Group in their bid that they gave to us and their pricing structure, they gave us so many hours of education and so many hours they priced it by the hour.
Yes, sir.
I would kind of like to know what the cost would be if Bailey is going to be brought back in for another education session. I won't have a problem with it, but I'd like to know the costs and the additional costs involved with that. And one more question along those lines. If Commissioner Rawls can't talk to members of the committee about this, obviously he can't talk to you, Administrator Suggs.
No.
So just where can he get this information at? I'm sorry, but I'm kind of on his team on this one.
I believe Julianne just laid it out for us.
Pass out.
I believe Ms. Julianne just laid it out for us, that our vendor will be more than, I guess, available to answer any questions and go through the process of where have we got from point A to point B.
And I'd be willing to go to them. They don't have to come to me. Wherever they are, I can go to their office.
Okay, and they're pretty reasonable as well. So I'll first find out if there are additional costs that they would incur to sit down, and then whichever's most convenient for you will get set up.
Okay. Very good. Thank you.
Thank you, Julianne.
That's all I got.
So, okay. Commissioner Goddard?
I'm going to be so happy with our staff. Our staff has been working on this budget, and we have put a lot of pressure on them, and they have still taken the time and been patient with me on all my questions. So I just want to say thank you very much, because I know that it's a big order. It's a big order that we're asking. Every year we come to you with a big order, but this is really a tough one. Second, again, I want to just say the Palaca Young Professionals, they knocked it out of the park, and I'm just proud of them. I don't know if I can get Mr. Killebrew to come up here and speak about what's going on there. The renovation's been going on at the park. Did you want to throw in, because you guys have been doing a great job at the Triangle Park. I love putting him on the spot. Well, he'll get me back. He'll get me back, I'm sure of it. But it's coming along really great.
Do I need to say my name and address again?
No, sir.
What
Well,
was your name? What was
Leroy.
your name?
Leroy.
Honorable.
On payday, you can call me Leroy. I believe that the county staff came out and did a lot of work before we were even there. There was a lot of complaints. It all generated off of Facebook, a negative comment that was made about the county and the county employees and the county, not doing what they were supposed to be doing. Some things that were left out at the park. They were saying needles were at the park, and we're talking about the Rotary Park out at the Triangle area on 19 and 17. There was just a lot of stuff that was said. Alex Sharp and Wayne Troiano started a grassroots effort to put it out on Facebook to clean the park up on Saturday morning. About 50 citizens from Putnam County, which is, that's what we're wanting. The man was talking about getting people involved. They are involved. I'm proud of Putnam County. Maybe they're not involved in committees, but I'm proud of the citizens of Putnam County. They're getting out there. They just had the cleanup day, a month ago? And we'd pick up three tons of trash off the side of the roads. In Barden, where I live at, but Commissioner Goddard was out with us helping us pick up. We picked up, they said, the most garbage for the whole county. But back to the park, the things that were there were just a little bit of trash. Wayne Troiano came out and he brought his own lawnmower and cut and weed eated and things like that. Tim Parker and another man I do not know got inside the pond area, went around, picked up trash, cleaned up the area very well. Some of the citizens got up underneath the pavilions and pulled staples and things like that people had left. A young man, and I wish I could remember his name, but I can't right off the top of my head, came out from his own company and pressure washed, the tables and all the areas, the sidewalks. I was just out there yesterday. We had a wooden bird that was placed up there, that there are animals on the walls and everything like that. And I'm going to toot my own horn here. But I picked the bird up. I found the body in the trash, and I picked the bird up, and there was the head up on top of one of the towers. Got up there and got the head off, and they didn't want me to mention their names, but I'm going to go ahead and mention it today. I took it to my good friends John and Stanley Hodge at Designs, and I said, "Can y'all replicate this?" And they looked at it and said, "Why would we want to do that?" And then 2 days later, there it was, beautiful. They made it out of metal and repainted it and put some gloss on it that's going to make it last for years. And so it's just, I get out there and stomp the ground every day just like you guys do. The citizens of Putnam County want to do things. They want to be proud of what we got, and they are proud of what we have. And so with that, the park looks great.
Yes, sir. And again, thank you very much. I want to throw in, too, about the cleanup out there in Barden. We did pick up the most out there, but I almost think we had the most volunteers. There was an army of people out there to help pick up. The other thing is, I always take my ride around Putnam County. It's so neat watching, even in the rain, which everybody is so glad to have, people fishing. And it doesn't matter if you're down here or if you're out at Rodman. They're all fishing and enjoying the parks. And that's why I wanted to throw that in about Mr. Killerbrew. He didn't actually spearhead that, but he was a major part of getting that cleaned up. Anyway, I'm very proud of Putnam County. I'm proud of the activities that get together, and we are a proud county, a very proud county. We should be very appreciative that we live here. Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner Goddard. Commissioner Turner?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Before we have to make a decision on this insurance stuff. Am I misunderstanding that we're going to have a presentation on exactly what's going on as the insurance committee to the commission? Or are we just gonna have to rely on the tidbits we can pick up because we're not allowed to talk to you? I wasn't aware of this until today, and it actually disturbs me a little bit too, that I can't, this is probably one of the biggest decisions this commission's gonna make this year, and I've got to rely on a little information that I can pick up from here and there. I would request a presentation on it.
That's fine.
To
We'll,
this
we'll reach
board.
out to the Bailey Group, make sure we bring the folks in.
Of them, or it could be from the insurance committee or whatever, but I think Bailey needs, somebody needs to be prepared to answer all the questions.
Well, I think it would be wise for us to reach out to to our consultant that's been working through the process,
Yeah.
to have them come back to an insurance committee meeting to give an update to everybody at one time, because quite frankly, those that are sitting here are on the insurance committee, so we need someone that's been working through the process to come back and explain everything, how it went, how we got to where we are, and then bring everybody up to speed at one time so we can make a decision moving forward.
Where are we at on our changes to the electronics up here on the diocese?
I'm reaching out and getting quotes.
Okay. Is that an IT thing, or are we gonna go out for that?
I will work through IT on that, yes.
Okay. Well, while we're talking about IT, I think we're getting there on the building department software, I was told, so, is that funded already in the budget for that department, for,
I
the
believe we
building
did.
department?
Let me go back and think. I know
Could we
we funded
check on that,
Quinn's, but,
please, and
yeah,
let
but
me
we
know,
will have
because
money
if
available
we're
to do
not-
that.
I think we might have had it in, or maybe not.
Yeah.
But if there's gonna be an issue, I do not want it holding this up if we need to bring it to the board to discuss a funding issue, if it's not already in the budget. Once they're ready to pull the trigger, I want to be sure that we're ready to pull the trigger. We've only been working a year and a half on trying to get this done.
We'll
so-
pull the trigger when we settle on the appropriate software, we'll pull the trigger on it.
Okay, and we had a workshop not too long ago along the software lines. They were talking about public works using city work. But then IT was gonna go back and check with whoever our GIS vendor was, I think, to be able to try and see if they had something that would tie into what we're already using or something. I would like to know, has that been done?
There's been some conversation between IT and Public Works, so what we'll do is we'll add that to the workshop and have another conversation about that, see where we're exactly at, so all 5 commissioners be updated at the same time.
Well, I guess my question is, has IT reached out to the vendor that they said in that meeting
I'll
that they
check
were
with
gonna
IT and
reach
find
out
out.
to, you know, to see if that's available or not. Mr. Chairman, with that, I yield the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Turner. Commissioner Harvey?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Last Friday, I met with a lady who complained on Facebook and also to all of us on email about some things that she didn't know what was going on, which was, I say Friday because my wife says I use up all my words by noon on Friday, and I can't talk Friday afternoon. But I did pretty well for about an hour and a half with this lady, and came to realize that as much as we sit up here and try to give information, it just doesn't get out there. She complained that the newspaper didn't carry it, and I complained they did a great job, counteracted that. So I don't know how to get people more involved in watching what we do, because most of her complaints we already worked on or we're working on or fixing to start working on. So, you know, we talked before about maybe taking an ad out in the paper or doing something like that. Again, I don't know if we could even afford to do that, where we have a monthly, these are the things we're doing this month. But it sure be nice for people to, because if all of us have to stop and answer the same lady with the same 5 commissioners on the issues, that's a lot of time. That's not, I don't want to say wasted, but it's redundant. And it would just be so much easier if we could find a happy medium. And I think she was a realtor who asked us if maybe we could meet with the realtors. I told her they're more than welcome to come in here. We'd be glad to. I mean, kind of they're the first line of offense when people want to move in the community. And, maybe they could understand what we're trying to do and what our vision is and some of the roads that we're trying to do. So just want to throw that out to you. I do want to give kudos for our staff, Mr. Suggs, our chairman, Mr. Chairman Pickens, and the staff here. For last Friday, we had the North Florida Economic Development Partnership meeting that I serve on the board. Y'all appointed me to that. And it was 14 different counties that came here to Putnam County, had a meeting in this very chamber, and they were very impressed, had a wonderful meeting, a lot of issues that went on till about noon. Seminole Electric provided the snacks and the food, but, I can't say enough about Julie, your staff were here early the day before getting things ready, and at 12:30 they were back putting this room back together. So it's just really wonderful. They'd never been here before to Putnam County, and they were just amazed when we talked about the Billy Graham connection here in Putnam County. They never heard that before, and sometimes it's hard to get our own story out, and it's hard for people to hear what you're trying to say sometimes. But I think we have a good story to tell here in Putnam County, and I look forward to continuing working with all the organizations that we work with. And commissioners, I want to say this, I enjoy working with each one of y'all because I do feel like we're all got our eye on the ball and the big prize, and we're trying to make Putnam County citizens' lives better for the future. And thank you. And again, Mr. Chairman, thank you for showing up in your comments the other day.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Harvey, and thank you for serving on that committee. Larry was appointed and served, I think it's your first year on the committee. And also Brian Bergen, Vice President of Economic Development with the Chamber, he serves on that committee too. And it was nice to have all the other counties that were involved here. They changed the room up a little bit. They had the podium over against this wall and the chairs were this way. But from the refreshments that Seminole Electric provided to all the various speakers and the panel. And we have a beautiful facility here to showcase, Putnam County. And a lot of them haven't been here before, so that was good. We can see the beautiful county that we live in. Want to recognize the Palaca Young Professionals. They pulled off a great event with continuing the Blue Crab, so looks like they're on the right track and will continue that for years to come. We have no workshop this afternoon at 2. Our next meeting will be a workshop in the conference room at 9 a.m. June 18th, Tuesday. Any further business to come before this board? We stand adjourned.